I was kind of gagged this whole season by the eliminations, the drama, even the winner. I have a lot of thoughts about that, so I want to get into all of that. And I also want to talk about in this video about whether I think Netflix can launch some successful pop acts in this show. Welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. So today I want to keep talking about Building the Band, a new Netflix show that just finished its first season. I made a video talking about the first few episodes where they copied a very similar thing to Love is Blind. They formed boy bands and girl groups sight unseen. Today I want to talk about just how the rest of the competition played out, because after this pod part, the show became a pretty standard singing competition show. And by that point, I was invested, and I was glad to hear in the comments some of y'all were also watching the show, also invested. I was worried nobody was watching. This fandom is small, but we are mighty. So let's get right into it. So after the booths, they have their 6 bands, and each band has to do this first look performance. That's kind of a little bit stripped back and a little more acoustic-y for Nicole Scherzinger, who is going to be their mentor and judge, as well as Brian and Scott Nicholson, who are going to be their creative directors. They're kind of like the Miss J and Mr. J, if you only understand top model terms. After these performances, then they did a showcase where they all performed on a bigger stage with a live audience and in front of the judges, Nicole, Liam Payne, Kelly Rowland. During this round, they eliminated one band, and then they basically just did the system up until they got a winner. So just perform again, eliminate one band, perform, eliminate one band. And each time, like, the stage would get slightly bigger, and they would maybe add an element. Now they have staging props, and now they have dancers. It was honestly very straightforward, and I don't mind it because I'm just all about the performances. So I'm like, give me a ton of performances and I'm gonna be happy. I do want to take a moment to appreciate kind of the casting of all the judges / mentors on this show. I feel like they did a really good job of getting a well-rounded group that represents sort of the biggest pop group. Like, it's pretty awesome. We have representation from the Backstreet Boys, which is a very classic 90s boy band. Nicole Scherzinger from Pussycat Dolls representing like a big girl group. You have Kelly Rowland from like the most successful pop trio of all time. Another great girl group representation, but representing like the small end of girl group. And then Liam Payne representing kind of like the most modern type of boy band that had the most success in recent years, One Direction. I just really appreciated how invested they all were. Like, I feel like AJ was a really nice facilitator and really like supportive of the groups. And Nicole, I feel like Nicole is very polarizing, and I get that, but like, I don't know, maybe I just relate because she just loves every performance, kind of. But I feel like I'd be the same way if I was watching them. Like, I just love performances and I love art, and I'd just be like, oh my god, y'all are amazing. And I felt like she really was like invested, at least. A lot of the show, she was also trying to like sell the idea of the show. She kept mentioning like, you've built that band, you're building that band, the band is built. So like, I think there was an element of her trying to emphasize the branding of the show itself and like that it worked and all those things. But I still found her like a really nice energy. And then Kelly Rowland gave amazing advice. She was kind of like the more blunt judge out of all of them. And then Liam Payne, of course. I teared up so much at the very end of the season. They showed a clip of him singing along to, or like dancing along to What Makes You Beautiful with like the crowd and going to the crowd. And it's so sad when a young person dies, and so tragically. Like, it was so bittersweet watching him in this show. Just as a former directioner, I got the sense he had an appreciation for like the joy One Direction brought to people, and I feel like a lot of artists in that boat struggle to get to that place. I appreciated seeing him like just embrace where he came from. And actually, the finale episodes came out on the 15-year anniversary of when One Direction was formed. So it feels like interesting divine timing. Happy anniversary to One Direction. So let me talk about each band's journey post booths, and I'm gonna start with season 4. So last video we did not have band names yet, but before the showcase they had to come up with their group names. I ended up not liking any of the names, really, like not loving any of the names. I hated some more than others. Maybe it just like takes a lot of success for me to like buy into a name. And also, I do feel like season 4 is like a traditional name in the group sense, because I feel like a lot of the time these pop groups will have a name that's like a jumble of letters and a number. And that at least feels like it's pop group tradition. I'm not that mad at season 4. I wanted Pinky Promise, but I know that name probably wouldn't fit their vibe and probably maybe it's too feminine, or they would feel like they have to wear pink all the time. So I get it, they don't have to go with Pinky Promise, which is my idea, but season 4 I'm like a little meh about. I feel like for such a stellar group, there could be something better. Season 4 had a journey. I mean, it's interesting because in this competition, they were frontrunners pretty much the entire time, but ultimately came in second place. And I was kind of shocked. I thought they were gonna win. It's kind of interesting that they were the front runners because they are also kind of underdogs individually. Like their stories kind of reflect like an underdog struggle, and they're kind of like a very non-traditional group, like put together. They're the only mixed group. There's not as much of a blueprint for a group like season 4 compared to all the other groups that I feel like are emulating certain blueprints, which was a good and bad thing. To me, it was a really great thing because they felt very fresh, and I think that's why they were such front runners. Also, the talent was just like insane with this group. The vocals, they just had really good, like, different voices, but were able to gel them together. For the first look, they sang Somebody That I Used to Know, which randomly, I have major beef with that song. When that song was huge, I hated it with a passion. I still get triggered by it. I hate it so freaking much. I was so glad when Doechii like remixed it, resampled it, whatever, sampled it and made it different, because I was like, she made it different and I just need that song to go away. It was just so overplayed, and a lot of songs are overplayed, but like it's a random animosity I cannot explain. But when they did it, I liked it just fine. I don't know, something about the original recording pisses me off, but they did amazing with that song, which is a lot for me to say. Just know it's a lot for me to say. If you have a song you have random beef with, let me know, because I feel like it's very weird. I hate it that much. I don't know what, because I can't tell you why. Most things I dislike, I can tell you why I dislike them, but whatever. They made me like it. Everyone gagged. The other bands were gagged. Allison, the mean bitch, she was gagged. Nicole was gagged, and she mentioned how like this band, each member has soloist level talent, but no one's fighting for the spotlight, and they really always feel like they're trying to just make the performance the best it can be. And I feel like most of the other groups have some sort of one or multiple people mad that they didn't get a line, or that they're not featured as much, or that everyone wants to do a run. I do think that was what was really special about it. There was like a humility to this group, and that's a big contrast with how talented they were. Like, I would expect them to have big heads about it. So moving on in like the rounds of competitions, they ended up coming in second place. So they did all the performances that they could have done. For the first showcase, they did Sweet Love by Anita Baker, which they ate. And then the next performance, they did Believer by Imagine Dragons, Bust Your Windows by Jasmine Sullivan, the next round, and then Human by Rag and Bone, something Rag and Bones, something like that. I thought that song was Imagine Dragons as well, but it's not, I guess. And then for the very final round, they did Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. I think what was the detriment to this group is that they started so strong. They didn't have anywhere to go, and by their final couple of performances, they just weren't as strong. Like, I still feel like their Somebody I Used to Know or Sweet Love performances were their best, and it's not good to peak so early. I personally, if I was the judge, I would still crown them the winners. I think in their one of their final performances that was also very strong was Human. They were emotional. AJ was crying. Nicole was crying. Everyone was emotional, like crying after that performance. It just feels like if an artist has that big of an impact with a performance, to me that is winner. That is some ephemeral, untouchable quality. Whereas other groups can be really polished and amazing, but can they move you like that? I don't know. I just feel like for me that's a winner. But if I'm trying to rationalize how the judges viewed it, I do feel like there wasn't that growth, and reality TV loves growth, and we're going to talk about that when we talk about our winners. Another thing they might have suffered from was that they did quite a few genres in their performances, and while I was watching it, I thought, oh, that's going to be a strength. They're going to be like, they can tackle any genre, they can tackle any style, but maybe that didn't work in their favor in the end, because when I think about it, I'm not sure what their original music might sound like. It kind of feels like they did their best performances when they had a message that they really felt and believed. And they tried to like fix this. One of their big drama moments was they changed their performance song to Bust Your Windows from another one called Glimpse of Us. And it was like within the last day. And it was just kind of like a big switch. I feel like they did R&B, and then they were doing this like rock Imagine Dragons thing, and then they could do pop, like Somebody I Used to Know, and Blinding Lights, which was their finale song. And I do feel like Blinding Lights was a very random choice for their finale song. I was very happy because I love Blinding Lights, but I feel like that's a song where I listen to it for the instrumental, like the production of the song, not so much like the message of the song or even the vocals of the song, which are fine, but like it's just not that kind of song, especially for how vocal this group is. That was just kind of like a random choice for the finale song, and I worry that it impacted the final decision, because I just feel like if you're basing it off the whole season, season 4 definitely wins. I feel like they were called first almost every round, at least every round that an audience voted. So then to finish with such a like poppy, non-vocally stunning song, like if the judges were judging on the final performances, then I don't know that season 4 was the strongest. So I'm just trying to rationalize and get in the judges' minds a bit there, because I would have definitely given the crown, or bet that the crown would be for season 4. And I'm sad because they were such underdogs. Like, I wanted them to win the money. Like, I loved each and every one of them. Donzel had a vulnerable moment singing Human. He was pretty emotional rehearsing that. And I loved Donzel performing. I think he was like the perfect example that the other bands needed to look at for like how present he was with the song and how he would feel it. Like, his facials and his movement just feel very like in the performance, and it's something kind of like hard to describe and unspoken, but this group had it the best, and I feel like Donzel out of this group had it the best. Like, he always felt like he was feeling the song. Cameron was such a good hype man as well as such a talent, but like anytime anyone was struggling, I feel like he would step in with just some motivational words and just like so supportive. Like, he was such a like rock, I feel like, for the group. Katie, she just seems like a very sensitive soul. At first she was kind of struggling in rehearsals, like kind of getting in her head a bit, and she would get like emotional, and it was just sweet to see the vulnerability. I feel like that's the word for this group, is vulnerability, but in a good way that like enhances their artistry. And Aaliyah, I mean, she had like such a impactful backstory with her mom and taking care of her through cancer, and we see her mom, they do like family visits at the very end in the finale, and that was sweet to see. Liam even shouts out Donzel's mom for just having the energy. You can see like how it translated to Donzel. This group is just very endearing, and I really hope we hear more from them. I don't know what it'll sound like, and it probably won't be totally my typical vibe of music, but I'm committed. I will check it out. I'll watch their music videos or performances. Like, I just think they're so talented, and I really thought that first place spot was theirs. Okay, the next band is Soulidified, later changed to Iconyx. I was not a fan of the name either. Solidified is kind of like a mundane word to like switch up the spelling of. I actually have a good alternative for this band's name that I would have liked personally, and that is Solstice, but soul, like S-O-U-L. You can play with like cosmic themes. I don't know. I just think they needed a more exciting word to like put the word soul into. And then they switch it up because Liam does give them the constructive criticism that he's not loving the name kind of towards the end of the competition. And they end up changing to Iconyx, which I was like, that's random. I would like it more if the makeup brand NYX didn't exist, but when I see it spelled out, I just think of the makeup brand, probably because I'm a fan of it and I buy a lot of their products, but like I do think of NYX, but I get it, like Onyx, Iconyx, sure. I think it's better than Solidified, but not my favorite, or it just doesn't like encompass it. And we didn't see the conversation. Like for their previous name we saw the conversation, but for this name we didn't see any conversation. So maybe if I heard like the reasoning, the backstory, I'd be more into it. So at the very, very beginning, like based on the reveal, this band was kind of a dark horse. Like I feel like Nicole underestimated them. Their fellow competition definitely underestimated them, especially one particular Harry Styles lookalike. But after the showcase, for sure they were solidified as one of the top groups. And it's interesting, like I do feel like after that first showcase there was a very clear top 3 groups and bottom 3 groups. And it's hard because they were all talented, but like that divide was very clear. Within the bottom half and top half, I would have ordered them differently, placement wise. But yeah, Solidified / Iconic, like what do I call them? What do I call them? I keep wanting to call them Solidified because I've known them as such for a while. But I guess I call them I'm going to call them Iconics. In the first look, they sing You Remind Me by Usher. It's super fierce. Again, reinforcing how Y2K they are. I feel like they sound like a professional recording of like a Backstreet Boys type of band. At the showcase, they sing Sure Thing by Miguel, another kind of Y2K vibe. Then after that, they sing Saturn by SZA because Liam had told them to kind of modernize or get out of their comfort zone, and that was like doing a modern song for them was different. And then for the finale, they went back to their Y2K vibes and did Bye 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 by NSYNC. This band was so cute and fun and talented. For them, they definitely had a strong leader in Shade. He stepped up and he was an effective but firm leader. It was giving like sports coach, like, you know, let's get him kind of. And I feel like that's motivating to boys. I don't know. I feel like the leadership work, even though Shade had his moments of like having a bit of an ego or just mad he didn't have a line in one of the songs. Landon in this band is kind of like the peacemaker. He helped resolve that, and he's a cutie pie, like emerged as our bisexual king when all of the bands met, and he was talking about how hot Jenna, Noriella, and Mason were, which is sweet. I also appreciated he was the only boy who admitted to loving One Direction and not blaming it on a sister. They just have that like smooth swagger, riz, whatever you want to call it, that like definitely wins over the ladies, you know, and it's like they're tight, they're polished. Their harmonies were one of the most satisfying to me for sure. And then their finale performance, Shade did a backflip off a box. The Benson boonification of pop is its own topic in and of itself, but it was smart of Shade to save that move for the very finale, or like close to the finale. So Iconics ended up placing 3rd in the competition, and I wasn't sure if they would end up 2nd or 3rd. I think ultimately I agree with their placement. I think they were a solid 3rd. It was sweet Liam comforted them that One Direction got 3rd place, which is so true and something to keep in mind about these shows. Like almost every mainstream pop act that came from a reality show did not win their season. You never know, and I think they have a chance. I think every band we saw has a great chance if they are willing to put in the work and make the right moves. The real competition, like any reality talent competition, it starts after the show ends. It was tough because that top three, that top half of this competition, they all excelled in their lane. Like, I wanted just a prize for all of them. I wanted a prize for best boy band, and then best girl group, and then best mixed group, and I would have been so happy. Like, it was really hard to choose between them because they all had their own lanes and styles they were going after. They each would have their own demographics of their audiences, you know? So, I don't know. I think maybe the song choice in the end hurt Iconyx going back to Bye Bye Bye. I wondered because I did want to hear girl group songs, boy band songs covered on this show because it's like songs I already know work well with a group. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of the groups stayed away from them because it is hard to like compete with the original. With a song that's just like a solo artist song, I feel like they can make it their own a lot easier. So I think it was just kind of maybe a misstep to do Bye Bye Bye. Even though I think they did a really good job, like switching it up and being really good. I think in the end for this group, it was truly like the competition was just so stiff for first and second place that they were just a natural third place. Okay, the next band is our winners, The Frequency. Congratulations to them. Their name is probably the name I hate the least. At first I was like, whatever, but again, it's like that thing of like a misspelled / weird word mixed with a number thing. So it feels classic and it makes sense. Like it's a frequency, like audio frequency, music, you know. This group won, which was kind of wild based on, I feel like they did have the shakiest reveal. And also Nori had me nervous because she had like been so firm against Brie. And then she hadn't sung with a live band and then she was losing her voice. So Nori went through it on this journey. But then when it came to the first look, they did Kill Bill by SZA. And that's when I realized who this group sounds like. They kind of sound like an elevated version of the Cheetah Girls. Like, Nori kind of has a tone like Miss Adrienne Bailon, and I feel like Gwenelly's the Raven, and then Brianna is like the Keely. I think she had a little rasp. They're giving Cheetah Girls. That's high praises from me. I would kill to see them just cover Gotta Strut Like You Mean It. Free your... Oh, that would be so... That would eat. Any Cheetah Girl song, I'll take it, please. Just make a TikTok Girls, that's fine. Maybe for Halloween, it could be the Cheetah Girl. I don't know. I'm living in my own fantasy here, but they sound kind of like the Cheetah Girls, and that's fierce. They did Made for Me by Mooney Long for the showcase, which is where they really locked in. It felt like the showcase really just divided the top half and the bottom half, and it was just like, who's gonna place where in those halves. They did Bad Guy by Billie Eilish for the next performance, which was kind of their most out there choice. Then they did Have You Ever by Brandy, then Have Mercy by Chloe Bailey, and then for the finale they did Always Be My Baby by Mariah Carey. I just feel like their song choices and how they interpreted the song were very smart. They showed variety, but also made it feel like they were all performances from the same concert. Just different parts of the concert, but like it was all the same show. And I think that's what helped them get the win at the very end. They were just very consistent and felt like they had the package just ready to go. It was like turnkey for this group, for a label to like pick them up, and they would have a vision for the music video, for the performances, for the tour, you know, like they're there. And that's kind of like the judges' logic, I think, that they sort of explained. They just edged out that other group, as well as they also had all this growth from the very beginning, and reality TV shows love that, and they loved to award that. They also were doing the thing of like, they felt very present when performing, they were feeling it, They were just in it, and their vocals were great. They had harmonies on point. So I just feel like they had everything going for them. Like, Bad Guy, for example, it's kind of a weird one for a girl group to tackle, but I feel like it helped showcase their choreo abilities, which they had the best choreo abilities. And Bad Guy was an interesting choice of like showing the dancing, and they were matching in really cool suits. Like, their outfits were always on point and very cohesive. They also had like the slower performance with Have You Ever by Brandy. So like, that's why it all feels like the same concert. Like, Bad Guy was like the high energy dancey part, and then the slow part was, the Have You Ever, and it all felt like the same show. And I feel like I have a sense of like what their music might sound like and what their look would be and all these things. Also, a song like Have Mercy took so much like confidence and fierceness, and like it was fast. Like, there was a little rappy moments to it. Like, they did really eat. I want to take a moment to discuss Brianna's choice of the makeup. Let's talk about it, because I kind of have feelings about it. I don't know if anyone else cares. I mean, it is just a choice, and to each their own. This is just like my preference and opinion. It's okay if you disagree. I just think it's a bit of a rigid thing to be committing to all the time, because we see her with it always. Every performance, every rehearsal. There was one moment when they were like waking up. That was the only time we saw no wave. And she explained it's because it represents music. And to me, that's not a good enough explanation. I'm sorry. And I understand, like, you want to have a thing, like something signature you're known for. And I believe that's what she's going for. But I just feel like it's a bit rigid. I wish she would, like, play with placement of it. Like, every performance, it's somewhere. It's, like, on the arm. It's on the chest. It's on the leg. It's on the face. It's on the wherever. Or it's on the clothes. Kind of like her bandmates did in the final performances. They had it in different placements. I just think it's like locking in a very like rigid thing to always be doing. And I feel like it just works with some looks, and it doesn't work as well for others. Like, when they were all in the beautiful gold glam for their ballad moment, their Brandy moment, she still had the wave, and I was like, it just doesn't fit the vibe of the performance. It fits when there's like an edgy, more punky vibe, like the Bad Guy number. I think it's a bit soon to lock in such a in-your-face, literally signature. I like when someone has a brand, but it's broad enough that you can like mold it to whatever you're doing. And she switches the color out, and that's like the flexibility on it, but I don't think that's enough. That's just my opinion as just like an observer. It's her choice at the end of the day, but they won. Congratulations to them. I was a little gagged, but I'm not mad about it. I do think like everyone has a chance, and if they want to commit to this, they can, and they can find success if it's meant to be. So that was our top half of the bands, placement wise, and I agree with that. Next is our bottom half, and starting with Midnight Till Morning, our hipster indie boys. Oh my god, they've been on a journey. They almost didn't even make it to the first showcase because they had a problem member, as we saw in the teaser. That's how fragile and delicate pop groups can be, and I think why they're so special, because it just takes one member that is not in it, not committed, and the whole thing falls apart. So I think, though there have been a lot of groups, in history in the world, it's still very special when it works really well. So their performances were not the most exciting. I think they were just up against really stiff competition. And I get it, their vibe is more hipster, indie, raw. They did a lot of similar sounding songs that were on the slower side, more ballady. Their first look was them singing Ocean Eyes by Billie Eilish. They did all right, but they didn't feel it was their best. And in the beginning, the entire band had this pretty laid back attitude on how they were approaching the competition, thinking like that was their signature thing. We're here to chill. We're artists. That'll take us through to the end of the competition. But Connor especially had a really tough attitude to win a competition with. He kept saying he was here to chill, here to have fun, perfection's overrated. It felt like he was trying to convince himself quality doesn't matter, so I don't have to try. He's also very shady to the other boy band, keeps making snide comments anytime they perform, talking about like, I've seen that before. Sir, that's called hard work. Of course you've seen it before because that's what succeeds. Showmance aside, I don't like how Connor was pretty unsportsmanlike to the other band, and it does feel like it comes from a place of insecurity and kind of like not being able to get past the fear of being cringe. I feel like he was so afraid to be cringy that he didn't want to try or care about being the best group. But to be a successful artist, you have to be okay being cringe and trying and caring. It's what putting yourself out there actually means. And it's cringy. It's gonna be cringy. And then when this band is preparing for the showcase, that's when it really fell apart with this showmance they kept teasing after the first 4 episodes with Connor and Allison. When they met, they flirted about Lana Del Rey, and the rest is history. He was staying at her place. He was staying up late. He was showing her his favorite book written by Cody Simpson. What? You're scared to be a cringy boy band and your favorite book is by Cody Simpson? Make it make sense. Then he'd be all tired during the day, napping, missing rehearsal, and his bandmates have to call him out about it. First, Mason tries to like pretty gently and kindly, but directly tell him like, hey, this is not okay. Can you just put the group first until the showcase, please? And Connor agrees and then does not do that. So then the whole band has to confront him, and Connor is ready to quit. He quits, actually, because the band is all, like, kind of ganging up on him and is awkward. But then his bandmates just, like, soften on him and tell him, like, we're not trying to judge, just our dreams are on the line, and we're here for you, and it's okay, like, we're gonna be here for you. And then he agrees to come back. So it was a whole thing, and I did not like Connor, or the Connor we saw. And this isn't judgment on anyone in real life. Like, we don't know them. This show is very edited. Who knows? Whatever. But the Connor persona I saw on the show, I did not like or appreciate. I think he was just too insecure to care enough. And it's weird because he's very talented. So it's okay to care about something and to care about winning. Ideally, that investment you have in it will take you as far as you can go. So at the showcase, they end up performing Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. The performance is just fine. I feel like this is a very overdone song, like every open mic ever. They were like on stools, strumming guitars. Talk about something I've seen before many times. A shaggy haired guy sitting on a stool playing a guitar. Connor is one to talk about things he's seen so many times before. And at the end of this performance, Shane like flips. And again, the Benson boonification of pop. But this was a bit early to be pulling out all the tricks. Like Shade saved it for the finale, which I think was great for a high energy song. And a lot of the judges felt it was misplaced here. Like, I get it though. Like, this song was not very exciting. They were on stools, so it's like, let's do anything to just make it more exciting for the ending of the song. The performance was a bit of a snooze, and the backflip woke me up a little bit. But I get it. It's not the most heartfelt thing to be doing. After this performance, they lock in because they are in the bottom 2 in that very first round, and I feel like that was a wake-up call. And Connor kind of like pauses his showmance. For the next performance, they do The Reason by Hoobastank. I remember that one. Again, another very done song in this genre, I feel like. It just felt very samey with this group, and I was kind of gagged and mad that they were saved a second time from the bottom 2, because they ended up again in the bottom 2, and they were saved again. I was like, come on, track record, hello. For me, I would have totally rearranged this bottom half of the competition. I would have made 4th place, Siren Society, 5th place, Midnight Till Morning, and then 6th place, Sweet Seduction. Because they had their warning. They were in the bottom 2 the previous time. They did a very similar song again, and were in the bottom 2 again, and they were saved. And I was like, judges, what the hell? So I do not agree with that judging there. And for their final performance, where they ended up placing in 4th place, they did Circles by Post Malone, which I do think was an improvement. It was their best performance they had had. it's just a little more poppy. Like, you can do more with it. They had done so many of these like ballady, overdone songs. It's just not gonna have that wow factor that all the other bands are bringing when you're just doing something so slow. The judges really liked their final performance, but they were just not better than the other groups. I was really scared they were gonna get rid of my boys, Iconyx, for Midnight Till Morning again from the bottom two, but no, they eliminated Midnight Till Morning and they ended up in 4th place. I really liked Mason in this group. I feel like he was a nice, gentle leader, and his voice was like very 2000s whiny pop punk guy, and I like that. So he was fierce. He kind of looked like Heath Ledger. He handled the Connor situation really well. That's Midnight Till Morning. Not my favorite genre and style. They definitely have an audience out there for them. But I don't see them surviving in the real world either, because if the commitment's already this shaky from Connor when you're forced to live together, you have cameras around, you have producers producing you and forcing you to perform, like, I don't see in real life this working, unfortunately. Okay, next band is Siren Society. I was so sad this group ended up 6th place. They were first eliminated. I don't think their showcase performance was strong. They did Don't Ya by the Pussycat Dolls, which was huge pressure in front of Nicole. Their first look performance was actually a lot stronger because I think it just fit their vibe better. They did Love Yourself by Justin Bieber. That was a little bit sweeter and more, like, there's sass in the message, but the delivery is like soft, you know? I just feel like with Don't Ya, they were choosing such a like sexy, sultry song that they just weren't ready for. It's not even about Nicole being there or not. Like, it's just, I don't think that was their vibe of this group. Like, this group was so positive. It was almost like toxic positivity, because like in that first look, Autumn was kind of taking the reins and Erica was kind of mad that Autumn was shining so much, even though Autumn was so fierce in that performance. Like, she ate. Erica wasn't like too pleased about that. Honestly, if you think about the message of Don't Ya, it's not a very like women supporting women kind of song. Like, it's peak 2000s, pick me, like, bitch, your man should be with me, you know, like misery business era. You know, it was not popular to support other women in the 2000s, unfortunately. And I just feel like this group is so sugary, sweet, bubbly. This song is just kind of a leap, and it's not true to themselves. I feel like they're trying to give Spice Girls, but they are sugar girls through and through. They need to keep it bubbly and choose more bubbly songs. And they were kind of the main culprit of a group who was, you know, hitting the notes, hitting the dance moves, but not feeling any of it. Compared to the other performances you see, like they are just hitting steps. Kelly Rowland gives a great note about exactly that. I wish I would have seen more performances from them, because I wanted to see them have a chance to grow and see if they could change it up. I was mad Midnight Till Morning got that opportunity, because I just feel like they were going to give the same thing every time, and I feel like Siren Society would have taken more notes or thought about it more, or just tried to grow. I was sad about it. I think just 'cause it's a girl group. I love girls and girl groups, and you know what you can do with that, rather than like a stripped back Guitar Boy type of band. It's definitely personal preference, but yeah, this Don't Ya performance was not it. If you want to see what I mean, like a good example, or if you remember, if you watched on Popstar Academy, they did Buttons by the Pussycat Dolls, and they delivered. It was a lot further into the competition. They'd had a lot more training and time. The energy you have to be giving of like, I'm the sexiest person on this earth, to like sell that song, it's not easy to do. Even if you're like these women are hot, and it takes a lot more than that. I don't know if they're gonna stay together. They said they would, but I feel like every band said they would, and I don't know. If I had to guess who would put out music I would enjoy the most, it would be this band, but I have no idea if that's their goal or what they're gonna do. And finally, our last band is Sweet Seduction. Such a mess. I would have eliminated them in the first round, but they weren't even in the bottom two. As I predicted, Allison went with Elise and Haley for her trio. This group had a very repetitive narrative, and it was like they were not cohesive at all. There's 3 wannabe Arianas, and they all want the spotlight, and they are just too competitive with each other. They literally revealed Into You by Ariana Grande. And as we all saw a mile away, like Allison's energy really messed up this group. Elise and Haley, you know, I think with a different, more chill third member, they could have made it work. I don't think they had hardcore, like, I want to be Ariana Grande, I want to be the spotlight energy. But with Allison bringing that energy, I feel like it brought out that competitiveness, at least in Elise, who is more like an alpha, I feel like. Haley, I feel like for a while was playing the Gretchen Wieners to Allison's Regina George, and Elise always felt like a Katie Heron. From the beginning, I feel like this trio was so doomed, and I do feel like Elise especially saw it early, but it's kind of like awkward to just like leave. I don't know. I don't blame her for just seeing the experience through. Being on TV is so huge. It's a huge platform. It's everything. So if I was in her position, I'd probably just stay on. Like, I would just think of it like, oh, this is a temporary time. Let's see how far we make it. And whatever happens, happens. By the end, they were struggling with Allison, talking shit when she would leave the table. Even Haley got tired of her, which it was after the showcase performance where they sang Emotions by Mariah Carey. They get the critique of like their outfits don't match. Their outfits were such a mess that first performance. Like, Allison was over here in dupe Mugler for Future Nostalgia Tour. Haley is giving like Kesha in the TikTok music video energy and her general style. Elise is giving like demure coquette trend, let's put lace and bow on things, like a little preppy. It just did not mesh at all. They do change Elise out, but they still get the critique that they don't feel cohesive because they're not. And Allison later, like when the group is discussing it, she's like, I'm not changing my style. And that's where Haley starts being like, oh, I wish she wasn't so. It felt very like when Gretchen is talking about we should all stab Caesar. That was Haley's moment of stabbing Caesar. So their next performance is better. They're more cohesive, but it feels like the other 2 are just turning into Allison because Allison doesn't budge on anything. When they're preparing for that performance, they confront Allison about her being toxic and always nitpicking because she's always like if someone dares to talk over her, she's like, you interrupted me. Like, she's just always just like bitching to everybody. She gets confronted and then Allison starts crying, playing the victim. It's just so gross. Like, oh, you're getting called that, now you're crying. Okay, and it feels like the bandmates then have to like comfort her, which is ridiculous. It's super shady and manipulative. And she's just crying like, I think it's so healthy to be direct. As in when she's direct to others, but they're being direct to her at that time and she's crying about it and offended. Allison definitely big villain. My guess is she went on the show to be on television, to get exposure, and not because she has any interest in being in a group. She is just trying to make it as a singer, celebrity, pop star, and thought this would be a good platform. It's tough, like with this attitude, it's gonna be hard to get far. She had this whole showmance, but she didn't really like talk much about it, or it didn't seem to affect the rehearsal. She was running them like the Navy. I do think she's talented, but her attitude just makes me like not care or be invested in her talents. And she's also so egotistical and like talking up her talents, like talking about how she's trying to serve Britney and Christina choreo. Like, is the Britney and Christina choreo in the room with us? Because the choreo I saw in their performances was not anything like that. Like, that's a big claim to be making. We don't even have like current pop stars delivering that level of choreo. But yeah, they just kept getting this critique of they're not cohesive. Even to the end, they looked more cohesive. They were more all pink and all did the same hair, but it was not enough to get them through the next round. They were in the bottom 2 with Midnight Till Morning. The Lovers in the bottom 2, of course. I was surprised Midnight Till Morning got saved, but maybe the judges saw like they were being too toxic and these poor other girls are struggling with like being around Allison all this time, like that's not good for their mental health. So maybe they were just like, this group's too toxic, even if they're talented or whatever. It was so uncomfortable watching how Allison treated her bandmates, who are supposed to be like her teammates in this whole thing. It's not gonna get you to winning if you're a bitch to your bandmates. You know, you would think she cares about that, but I guess not. So do I think Netflix can debut or launch a successful show from this season? Short answer, yes, I do. I think especially being a season 1, that really helps. Almost all of the bands showcased have very different like target demographics. So there's kind of something for everybody, and it's not just about the winners. And like I said, so many mainstream acts that came from reality TV did not win. So it's not even that I expect the winners to be the breakout or any placement. It's kind of a crapshoot, and it's just like timing mixed with hard work, mixed with dedication, like all these things. We'll see. But I'm excited to like keep an eye on them, follow them if they, you know, put out music or anything. And I think audiences love this stuff. I think it would be very smart for the bands that at least get along to try something, because you already have this like little built-in fan base that can then snowball into something major, or to just be like a musician full time. You don't have to be the next Sabrina Carpenter yet, but singing and being an artist can still pay your bills with this level of fame. I think it's very possible, and I'm excited to see things in the future from any of these bands. Cat's Eye has had a lot of success and has snowballed a bit and had viral moments, and they're like definitely a pop group that is gaining traction in the regular pop world. K-pop Demon Hunters is charting, and I think they're like the first technically K-pop girl group that has broken like the top 10 on Billboard. Netflix is really trying to get a piece of the pie in the pop music industry, and I don't care. As a pop fan, I'm into it. I love this kind of stuff. I did see that like tomorrow, which is like the next day after Building the Band ended, there's another show coming out on Netflix called Hitmakers that follows a group of songwriters for major artists. And I saw like a trailer that Lisa from Blackpink was commissioning the group to write her a song or something. So like, I don't know if I'll be chatting about that show, but I'll definitely check it out. And I'm interested. I'm just like, Netflix is really trying to get me. And they're getting me, because I love all this pop music industry stuff and every aspect, from performance to costume to dance to songwriting, production. Like, I love it all. So I'm going to be watching that. I don't know if Building the Band will get another season, but I would love for it to. It's really fun, and I think audiences like it. I think right now Netflix is like trying a bunch of stuff, I guess. Like, I think we're going to have another Pop Star Academy at some point. This Hitmakers thing is a new, like, different aspect of the music industry. So maybe they're just like kind of trying a lot of stuff with pop music and seeing what succeeds the most, what sticks the most. I'm seated. And I loved this show. I thought it was going to be a gimmick, like I said, but I was invested, and the talent was there, the personalities were there, the judges were well cast, the performances were really fun. I love hearing like songs I know and love, and them reimagined, covered by in it like a new way. I would love to hear who were your favorite bands or performances of the season. How would you rank who won in your eyes, and who was like second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth? Because I agreed only with third place, I think. And please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos whenever I feel like it about TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at Miscellaneous to keep up with me, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!